Time for another movie review. This one I've had in the can for quite some time. Tidied it up yesterday, so I'm now ready to shoot. Red Joan, released in 2019. Directed by Trevor Nunn. The screenplay is by Lindsay Shapiro and it's based on a novel written by Jenny Rooney. In the cast, Judi Dench plays Joan. Nina Sorsanya plays Miss Hart. Lawrence Spellman is Mr. Adams. Nicholas Sloan plays Joan's neighbour, and Sophie Cookson plays a very young Jane, 30 plus years, the time differences. Teresa Srabova plays Sonia. Freddie Gaminara plays William. Raj Swami plays Karak, and Tom Hughes is Leo. Ben Miles plays Nick, and Stephen Campbell Moore plays Max. This is an old-fashioned spy movie and the story of a son coping with the sins of his mother. The movie tells the story of Joan Stanley, played by Dench, an 80-ish woman who's unexpectedly arrested on her doorstep for violating the official Secret Act. For the next 95 minutes, Red Joan flashes back and forth between 2000 at the time of the arrest and the late 30s, early 40s when Joan, played by Sophie Cookson, is a graduate student at Cambridge. Red Joan switches to the old Joan every 15 minutes or so to remind viewers that Judi Dench is the star, but more on that later. But the story in the 1940s is very much the heart of this movie. The frequent ping-ponging of time frames became a bit of an irritant for me the longer the movie unfolds, and it interferes with the flow of the World War II segments, and the turn of this century ones seem almost irrelevant the longer we go on. Joan then, while at Cambridge, she's a science student, becomes friendly with one Sonia and enters into a physical relationship with Sonia's cousin Leo, played by Hughes. Both of these are active in the British Communist Party and proactive in protests about the position of Britain and the USA with regard to sharing information with Russia regarding World War II, and particularly the science regarding the development of a nuclear bomb. When she's asked to do a favour by Tom for the party and make copies of top secret documents that she has access to as she moves into work situation, Joan refuses. But later she changes her mind after the United States dropped atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Her reasoning? The world would be a safer place if the USSR's nuclear weapons technology achieves parity with that of the West. This philosophy was later codified as MAD, mutually assured destruction, during the Cold War. So this, eventually she does provide some level of sensitive information to Leo and Sonia, who funnel it on to Stalin's top scientists. The other story, involving Joan as an 80-ish widow, sees her being arrested and interviewed about her activities. And involved in this is her son, Nick, played by Ben Miles. He's a barrister and he becomes involved in the interviews and becomes more and more shocked, alarmed and angry with his mother's secret life and her alleged betrayal of her country as the interview develops. Notes I made while I watched this film. Early on we get some historical background relating to the 30s when Joan spots a poster references the 1936 Spanish Civil War, which many historians believe was a dummy run for the German war machine, the Luftwaffe, etc., before the invasion of Poland. Now, during their support for Franco's fascists in defeating the socialists in Spain, in Britain there was a strong support for the Spanish fighting Franco, and many volunteered to go and fight. So I think this is a relevant historical fact that one needs to be aware of. The scenes in 2000 through the interview with Joan with the police also reflects on the Activision that was pronounced in the 30s in the UK, known as Britain then. And it was viewed as a fight for freedom within Spain. However, the authorities are viewing this activity as subversive at that particular time, and the first step towards spying for the Soviets after the Second World War, we later are alleged. See Leo reconnecting with Joan a bit later and trying to obtain intelligence information, but Joan's silent on sharing anything substantive. And I must say I enjoyed the political aspect of the movie. The scenes with Deputy Prime Minister Attlee, for example, as he's seen visiting the Scientific Research Institute at the time of the push to be the first to have a nuclear bomb. This clearly shows also the difference that was perceived between the US and British allies, and key decisions regarding how to end the Second World War. So some of this information was new to me, and I'm pretty well read on this sort of stuff. So I was quite impressed with the plot in this aspect. Intelligence sharing with the Russians had ground to the halt in the back end of '44. We then had the Nevada desert test of the atomic bomb, and the film captures the emotions from the witnesses. Generally, there's an euphoric excitement about it, but Joan, who was also witnessing this from afar, appeared somewhat quiet and disturbed amidst the euphoria. And the script suggests the possibility of hypocrisy among the Allies with regard to this. And then later, a viewing of the Hiroshima explosion shows Joan's anguish on witnessing this again on TV. This prompts her to share information of the nuclear program, as mentioned earlier. Frames involve the process post the arrest of Joan and the possible connection between her and Max, a lover in the 40s that she had a short relationship with whilst they were working together. And then there's this idea that Nick may well have been Max's son, Nick being a barrister who is Joan's involved in Joan's arrest. But this plot point isn't really explored in any depth, and it leads to the film adding details that I found a little bit unnecessary, to be honest. I was also disappointed at the short time that Dench is on screen. She's an awesome talent, and when she is, her acting prowess comes through in spades, particularly in the finals frames with the son, as the dismay and the patriotism collide between them, together alongside the notion of war being abhorrent, irrespective of whether the country is run as a democracy, as a fascist state, or as a communist one. Nuclear war brings no winners, just all losers, and this area I found quite fascinating. The movie does leave the viewer short-changed about Joan's motives in being a party member and giving information to Leo and Sonia, but we still need to ask, was she a spy or a whistleblower? The movie set in the 30s and 40s, as I said, very impressive. The sets are marvellous, and the script loosely follows a real event that took place in Britain at this time, and a woman was the subject of scrutiny by the Secret Service in the 70s for doing just what this film explores, but I can't recall that. Okay, so that's my take on Red Joan, a movie review starring the absolutely brilliant Dame Judi Dench.